Hello everybody, Don't Blink here again with another Battlefield 3 gameplay commentary for you guys, and today I've got some footage I recorded while playing Rush Attack on Karg Island yesterday on the Don't Revive Me Bro Pixel Enemy PTFO server, and we were in trouble at this point in the match. As you can see there, we had 32 tickets left, and the defenders had our attack helicopter, which always is bad news. You never ever want to give the enemy team your attack helicopter, because those things are incredibly powerful, and it ended up doing a ton of damage to us. We took the first crate on this base rather quickly, but as soon as they got that attack helicopter, I knew we were in trouble, and we started to lose tickets like crazy. So I noticed after dying like probably the 10th time that that our AMTRAC was just sitting in our aircraft carrier going unused. And that is a travesty. You don't want that to happen, because the AMTRAC is an incredibly powerful tool as an attacker, and just an incredibly powerful vehicle in general. But if you're not familiar with the AMTRAC and its capabilities, it's an amphibious vehicle, which means you can take it in and out of the water as much as you want. It won't damage it. And it moves pretty quickly in the water, surprisingly. So it's actually quite useful because, you know, defenders aren't going to expect you to come to a base, attack a base via the water. So, you know, even, yes, you spawn in the AMTRAC in the water on this first base, but even on the later bases, taking the AMTRAC through the water can be really, really effective, because they just don't expect it at all. They're usually watching the main roads for vehicles. But on top of being an amphibious vehicle, it's also a global spawn point for the attackers, which means no matter what squad you're in, and you don't even have to be in a squad, you can still spawn in the AMTRAC, which is huge. As long as you have one open spot in the AMTRAC at all times, you can just cycle recently respawned players in and out of that thing like crazy and get a ton of people on the front lines in no time flat. You know, they don't have to spawn at deployment. They don't have to depend on their squad mates for a forward spawn point. They can just spawn in the AMTRAC and head right to the objective and not have to walk a mile in order to do so. So that's probably the greatest strength of the AMTRAC, but it certainly doesn't hurt that the AMTRAC is an incredibly resilient vehicle. It is probably the most heavily armored vehicle in Battlefield 3. It can withstand a ton of punishment. But even so, you do want to be careful with it. You don't want to take it straight up to an enemy vehicle too often. Unless it's a last-ditch effort, that's not something you want to be doing. You want to keep this thing as safe as possible, as much as you can. Like this situation right here, probably not the best move by my driver. Obviously I had no say in the matter, but taking an AMTRAC straight up to a main battle tank is not a good idea. Yes, the AMTRAC does have access to an automatic grenade launcher, which can be useful against infantry, entrenched infantry, and lightly armored vehicles such as the Jeeps and Humvees. But you don't want to be using the grenade launcher against main battle tanks or even IFVs. It's just not a good idea. It's not very effective. There's also, obviously, a machine gun that you can use as the gunner in the AMTRAC as well. It's a secondary weapon. And that can be good if you have engineers popping in and out of cover, lobbing rockets and other such explosives your way. So, you know, the weaponry on the AMTRAC is mostly just for anti-infantry purposes. You don't want to be using it against heavily armored targets too often. But even so, you know, you take the incredibly heavily armored nature of the AMTRAC and you pair it with some decent weaponry, and it makes for a very potent combination. So the AMTRAC may not seem like a very good offensive vehicle, but it's actually pretty decent, and you can get a lot of kills as a gunner in one of these things. The AMTRAC's also really good at getting road kills, believe it or not, because people don't really expect you to just go, you know, head first into them with such a large vehicle. But I got 4 or 5 road kills while playing on the Don't Revive Me Bro server yesterday. So that's really funny when you pull that off, by the way. But here we are, final base. I ended up taking the AMTRAC around and into the warehouse, which ended up being a good idea. Because the AMTRAC is so heavily armored, and because it's so useful as a forward spawn point, it will distract the heck out of your opponents. If you put that thing in between a bunch of enemies, yes, they'll probably destroy it pretty quickly, but think of how many rockets and weapons are being fired at that thing that could have been shot at more offensively minded vehicles, such as a main battle tank. It takes a lot of weaponry to take an AMTRAC down, so providing that distraction can be very helpful for the other heavily armored vehicles in your fleet. So anyway, that's enough of me gushing about the AMTRAC. If you don't believe me when I say it's good, go try it out for yourself. It's a tremendously useful vehicle in Battlefield 3's multiplayer, and you should definitely make use of it whenever possible. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.